Hi, it's Matt, and in this episode we are going to be discussing the flight with the WingWing Z-84, which was being flown on 4S, and what went wrong. So, well, as we can see on the screen, I'm pretty much caning it across the field. I've taken my finger off the throttle a little bit, bringing her back around, and then opening her up and giving her absolute full beans, and she just dives into the sky. So I bring her back round, and typical WingWing Z-84, we take her for a float and just a glide on the way back down, just to enjoy the journey. But throttles back full on, and we absolutely cane it along the hedgerow, cane it on a full bank round to the left, and genuinely just rag the nuts off it, you know? Really, really good fun. But I make a big mistake. Now, my mistake is not actually in my piloting skills. My mistake was in my building skills. So you'll see me come round now, cane it all the way across the field. You can see how fast it is. I go up, I come back, and then I go to do a square. So you see me come back round again, and before I know it, I just can't pull out, and I'm in the ground. So what a great impression. So new flying site with new guys which I've not flown before. So I announced that I've landed, as you do, and I make my way over to go and collect the model. Now, I've got some photos of the model which I'm going to share with you in just a few moments. There's just the token moment of all time, which, yeah, I did cuss quite. I did run around to the other side of the field to go and get it, and I was cussing all the way there. And I think you'll see me there in the background, going to just go and find the bits, and I had to go and hunt for them over quite a wide expanse, because it really did go nose in. So I'm going to stop talking for a moment, because this is where I announce that I've landed, which I thought was kind of funny. I don't know if you can see it, but landed. There we go. So, yeah, excuse my sense of humour. It was the only way which I could deal with it. Now, let's go and have a look at the carnage. So, up on your screen right now is a photo. There is the WingWing Z-84. And unfortunately, you can see the amount of damage across the hull. Unfortunately, what you can't see is that she is cracked all the way down the other side. And there is a big chunk of foam there, which is missing from there, all the way over there. So yeah, that was about the impact site. We have the top lid there. We've got one part of it there. I think the battery's there, and the receiver is over here somewhere in the ground. Not good. Now, I also have got some other photos for you, so you can see the sheer amount of damage. Look at that. So we've got cracks all the way down there. We've cracked round the motor mount, up underneath the motor mount, round the other side. We've cracked the winglet, and there was a previous crack from there which I glued up once before. That's come loose. Obviously, there's a great big chunk missing here. There's a cracked nose. There's a chunk which is in the model. What else have we got on here? Let's have a look at the bottom of the model. Yeah, look at that. But you can also see the rippled effect all the way along the bottom of her. Absolutely bonkers. So what I've been and done, I've been and put her in a hot bowl of water and submerged the center section. That water will cool down by now, so most of that would have flattened back out. I'm going to go and just towel dry her and pop her in the airing cupboard for a couple of days to dry. And battery's charged, by the way. Wait for that to finish. So what are my plans from here? To be honest, I feel that I have really, really caned this model within an inch of its life, in short. Yeah, just look at the state of that. I really have hammered this model to an inch within its life. And I had it here on my desk, and I was just caressing her, thinking, Matt, you plonker. The reason why she went in is that what I experienced in the previous episode, which was that I had loss of authority in the air at full pelt. Now, the reason for that, I don't think it was down to my pants. I'm going to fully admit that it was my fault she went in. but not necessarily because of my piloting skills. I feel that she went in because we had a loss of, we didn't have enough current to move the servos, in short. So what I should have done before I took her out to fly today was do what I said I was going to do, which was to change the 60 amp ESC which was in here to a 100 amp ESC, and that is basically the reason I feel why she went in, is because that motor on 4S in those conditions with basically an overpropped motor must have been drawing well up beyond the 60 amps for her, and it's just like a semi brownout where you've got some control there but not enough, and you see as she comes back down into the ground, I'm sure you've seen the video more than once now, is that as she comes in, there's just, I can't get her out there, there's just not enough control, and that was just probably just a straightforward brownout on the ESC. The ESC was too busy trying to supply the motor, and I just lost authority. So yeah, it makes it just kind of hammers the point home that you really do need to thrust test and power test your models. I had an inclination that that might be an issue, but I was silly. I took her out and I flew it anyway, caned it, and got caught out. So yeah, my bad. Like I said, pilot error, but not necessarily from the flying, but from the pre-flight stuff. My mistake entirely. So that kind of leaves us on a bit of a low point, actually, but I would like to say it's not a low point. It's actually a new beginning for this model. The irony is that I'm now going to go and take this model to a very different level. I am going to go and set her up for FPV, and I've got a little CCD camera on my desktop, which is that one there, the little 1000 TVL line camera. Not the best camera in the world, but the bit which interests me, you probably won't be able to see that on the webcam, is that it does say 5 volts on the back, which is kind of cool, because that means that I can run it off a 2S battery, which will then get stepped down. Now you may be thinking, 2S? Why are you thinking 2S, Matt? The reason why I'm thinking 2S is because if I now go and repair her as lightly and as strongly as I can, and set her up with a much smaller motor, a flight control board. Now, to be honest, I am really tempted to go for the APM Mini Pro, or to be honest, what I've got here is that I've got an F3 flight control board which will run iNav. And what I'm thinking is that if again, I've seen other people do this on YouTube, is that if I go and set this one up as lightly as I possibly can, is that I could go and set her up so that she could be a medium range FPV model. So something which is capable of staying in the air for potentially around an hour, which sounds crazy, but I actually feel is, well, number one, I know it's perfectly possible, but if we keep the current draw on overall down to about 2 amps and we run her on, say, a 3500 Lion cell, so if you have a look in the vape, you'll see the great big 18 to 1650 batteries in there, is that if we run her on some nice big 18650 batteries, which again they're capped out at 10 amps, well I was only aiming for 2 amps with her, is that we could get a really nice medium range FPV aircraft out of her, and then give her another lease of life in a different form. So yeah, that's my plans for her now. Like I said, I was thinking about the APM Pro Mini, but they're not cheap, and I'm thinking, well, a couple of weeks back I ordered and had arrive an F3 flight control board. I could easily load that up with some with iNav on there, and again we can have the on-screen display with that one with a separate Minimo SD board. Keep things really, really light. Now I'm not going to go and take, I know I've got 12 gram metal geared servos in there, but those servo holders have had a lot of abuse now. It's been through 6 servos, bless her. So yeah, I'm going to be downscaling her, if that makes sense, but repurposing her for a different life, in the hangar, if that makes sense. So yeah, my target now in my head is about an hour's worth of flight time, so it's getting down to that cruising current of about 2 amps. So that does mean that it will be a much smaller motor. I will be trying to save as much weight wherever as possible. So if we look on this motor, well, number one, I won't be using the motor which is actually here on my desk. I won't be using that one. I'll be using a much smaller motor. I'm personally thinking the Emax 2805, the little 2340 kV one, which you've seen me use in the Bonsai and things like that. I won't be using bullet connectors. I'll try and direct solder as much as I can. I will need to drag the receiver and the FPV transmitter out onto opposite wings, just for try and get as much distance apart for them as much as possible. Now, I don't know what I'm going to do about the receiver. Maybe you can make a suggestion on this one. As far as receiver goes, I've got well, I ideally want something with telemetry, so that's something like the X4R, for example. I've got one of those. I've got some D4R2s, but they're a bit iffy. And again, the X4R, should I say, is a little bit iffy on distance. I've got an X8R sat next to me, and I've only got 2 of those, unfortunately. But yet, that is an option. Again, just be aware, for weight, I would be looking to depin this as well, so it's going to be quite deconstructive to a receiver like this. And again, they're not cheap, they're about 30 quid. I haven't got any L9Rs left because of other projects which I'm working on. I do have a D8 something or other, quite a big one, which is an option too. So yeah, receivers is the only bit which I'm unsure upon. I was going to use one of the, again, I'm not the most current friendly ones. It is a TS5828S video transmitter. Now, I've been and checked the specifications on this one. This one is around 300 milliamp hours, which isn't massive by any stretch of the imagination. It is a bit on the high side, but transmission power versus current is pretty good. And again, I intend using a diversity receiver with her as well. So yeah, any suggestions on flight control board, motors, any tips or suggestions around the setup to turn this one into a medium range FPV vehicle, something which is capable of waypoints, that would be pretty cool. And also an onboard camera as well. Now, as much as I will be using FPV, it would be really, really nice to get some HD footage. So I do like the RunCam HDs. The RunCam 2s, the image quality on them is absolutely fantastic. But on the flip side, the weight on them is that they're a bit heavy for them. So any suggestions over a HD video camera? Maybe the 808-16 camera is a viable option. I don't know. What would you recommend for the HD video recording? Again, any suggestions, any ideas, please do let me know in the comments section underneath this episode. And ultimately, thank you for taking the time to watch this episode. It was very sad. I did feel sad in the car on the way home after seeing the mess of her, and then I literally had her on my. It was it was like watching. No, that's something else. It was just I didn't want to throw her in the bin, so she will live for another day, and you can help shape the future of my WingWing Z-84 turn her into a medium range FPV vehicle. So any tips, suggestions are 100% welcomed. So with that note, bit of a sad one that we stuffed her in, but she will go on to live another day, and I'll repurpose her. And if you're thinking that, oh my god, that's the end of this 4S series on the WingWing Z-84, don't panic. I got a brand new one on the way to me, and we'll take that one out for a good ragging on 5S this time. So anyway, with that said, for myself, Matt, thank you ever so much for taking the time to watch this episode. Cheerios!